When I picked up this little Squier Cabronita a few months back, I played her and instantly knew what she was going to become. She was going to go deep, she was going to get throaty, she was going to become a baritone. So what exactly is a baritone in the guitar world, and why did I want one? Well, if this analogy helps, I think about a baritone the way that I think about a viola in the string family. There's that space in between a violin and a cello, something that's a little bit deeper than one but a little bit higher than the other. And once you have something to fill that void, i.e. the viola, you sit and wonder to yourself, what did we ever do without this here? A baritone is similar to that concept, a quote-unquote standard tuned guitar that's set a little bit lower in pitch than a normal guitar, but a little bit higher in pitch than, say, a bass or a bass 6. Now, full-on transparency here, is this absolutely essential? No, absolutely not, but you got to admit, it is pretty sick. From the clips in this video, you could see that I'm playing familiar chord shapes and riffs, and I did say that she was tuned standard, but obviously lower in pitch than a normal guitar. How is this possible? Well, this particular baritone I tuned to what's called B standard, meaning that the intervals between the strings are exactly the same as a normal guitar, but instead of being tuned E to E, we're instead set to B to B. Now, why set this baritone B to B, and not other options like A to A or C to C? Really, it just came down to trying to make the baritone fretboard easier to follow. You see, set to B standard, our open strings become this: B, E, A, D, F sharp, and B. We see a lot of familiar open strings there, don't we? It's almost exactly like a 7-string guitar, but without the high E string. It makes it just a little bit easier to follow the fretboard. And the explanation I'm about to give you as to how I visualize this may be complicated, but I promise you it makes absolute sense to me. You see, the old A string chord shapes are exactly the same shapes. We just now equate them in pitch to what the old E string would be. For example, 5th string, 3rd fret on a standard guitar would be a C. In this case, it's just a G. That's not too hard to keep track of. And it's not hard, really, to keep track of the deep 6th string either, because it's a B. So you either just visualize what the notes would be on the old 2nd string, or if you've ever played a 5-string bass, it wouldn't be too hard to follow. Again, my apologies if that's a really complicated way of visualizing it, but I promise you that's exactly what I do, and it works. So the big question, how do you get a guitar tuned this low without the strings being all dead and flubby? You could do it one of two ways. A, trade out the original neck for a baritone scale conversion neck. The scale length is slightly longer, allowing you to tune lower, but keeping similar string tension. Or two, the option that I chose to do, just put thicker strings on the guitar. My plan here, I thought, was fairly simple and also pretty inexpensive. It only cost me like $8 for a pack of Ernie balls, you guessed it, for a 7-string guitar. Again, I'm trying to tune B to B here, so all I had to do was tuck away that unused high E string for a rainy day and widen the nut slots so that they would fit the larger gauge strings. It actually didn't take quite as much widening of those slots as I originally thought. It was a pretty straightforward process. This method of using the 7-string set was fine for testing this idea out, but in the future I'd really like to refine this baritone, maybe by getting a custom set of strings. Two reasons for this. Number one, the 3rd string, in this case the D, is not a plain string. It's wound. I mean, that makes sense, your D string normally is wound. But it makes it a little bit more of a challenge to bend that 3rd string exactly the way that I would like to. Be nice if I can come across a plain string that would fit that space. Also, the second reason, the 17 gauge string in this set normally is tuned to a G, but in this case I have to tune it to an F sharp, and just that little bit of difference there gives me a little bit less confidence in perfectly intonating my 2nd string bends. Maybe I could come across a slightly thicker string to replace that one, because the only other option is to practice a little bit more, and really, who wants to do that when you could instead just go buy something? All in all, I'm really glad that I went and did this to the little Cabronita. Everything is the same and yet completely different, and that leads to some really cool creativity sessions. It's exactly the kind of thing that you want in your guitarsenal. And with the growing popularity of Ariel Posen and the Mulecaster baritones, there's a lot more songs out there now, other than crazy metal tracks, that could use a baritone in the lineup. Basically, if you have a guitar, you have a set of nut slot files, and you have $8 for a pack of strings, I say go for it. You'll have what I call a baritone blast. As always, I've been Joey. Thank you so much for stopping in to watch this video. Please tap that like button on your way out, because I would greatly appreciate it. Also, feel free to subscribe and be on the lookout for more cool stuff coming up soon. On that note, guys, thank you so much, and take care.